Howdy, folks.
All right, we're live. Ride's done right. I'm Larry, and he's Alan. Alan, talk to us.
Howdy, folks. How are you this fine Friday night? I've been under the weather all week. 3 days down sick, feeling a little better this evening. Uh, thought I was good enough to come on and chat with everybody tonight. We're pretty excited. Big show tonight. We've got a vlogger from California. He's a Ducati Diavel fella, and he's has a whole bunch of followers down there. He's got some really cool videos out of him riding, having some incidents, coming out unscathed. Pretty cool stuff. We're excited to chat with him tonight and have a good show. So we hope everybody can jump on and get some questions thrown at him. And
So I got, speaking of questions, what I was doing in the background was trying to get a little, I got some screen shares up here.
uh-oh, we might have technical difficulties. I see we're still live. Not sure where Larry bugged out to. I know we've had a little bit of difficulties this evening trying to get things rolling.
I'm back on. Do you hear me?
Yep, I hear you, Larry. I don't see you yet, but I hear you.
That's fine. Now, do you see my screen?
Yep, I see your the RDR on a black screen.
All right, we'll try and do this again. And we, as Alan said, we have been having problems tonight, so hopefully we can get through this unscathed. This is the first screen that you see when you go in to do a question and answer. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on the B part of the conversation. When you get to this next screen, go up to the little grid in the corner. And from that little grid, you'll see a question and answer balloon open, and click on question and answer. Then you'll see where it says ask a new question. You'll click that button. Then you ask your question, click the submit, and that's it. We get the question, and I'll then voice it to everybody, and we can see how that works. So, boy, this technical stuff again. Here we are. Been waiting for this night for a while. All excited to have Blogger Jones down there in California, and then we start off right off the bat with slow connection speed. And that's kind of been the story so far. The last like 15 minutes or half hour, we've been flailing trying to get this thing going. And we don't know what to expect, what it's going to look like to you guys. When we go watch this thing back, we'll find out when I froze up, or when Alan froze up, or when Rob froze up. So I see you nodding out there, Alan. You kind of in panic mode with me?
A little bit. We haven't had this trouble yet, so except for pre-show, but not live show. So this is
yeah, it's a brand new deal. So one of the things that we got going here is tonight we're going to be showing video while we're doing this. So I'll be showing up some video, screen sharing. We'll watch a little 15 seconds of video, and then we'll talk about it with Rob and see what he has to say about it. He can explain himself. And but that takes bandwidth, and that's what's got me nervous. When I fire up a streaming video, how's it going to handle it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I watched some of these videos earlier today, and they're pretty cool. He's got some cool stuff. He's a good rider. He's obviously been doing this a day or two.
Yeah, he has. And when you ride as much as he has, you get a lot of experiences. So you find that out. Now, this is how it works. We're here yapping away, talking about the guy, and then here he is. Rob,
hello.
Hop in there.
How you doing, Rob?
Good.
Now, I didn't notice this earlier. I'm not going to go away from you, but looking in the background, you are down in the garage, you dog, and look at those sweet bikes behind you. Now, that's the shot I was looking for, was We got a guy who's actually in a garage with his cool stuff. So, so that's what we wanted. Well, what we were talking about the technical difficulties we've been having, and we don't know really what to expect, and we're going to find some of that out with you. So sorry that on your first time out, that's kind of how it's starting off, but we'll see if we can get it started and kind of get us back on track. The time is 8:07, so I'm going to look and see where we're at here. We're right where we want to be. We got Rob, we got Alan, and we got questions coming. We got everything ready to go. So if you guys are watching live, I just showed you how to go in there and click that grid button and then ask questions. You can do that as we go along. So, how long have you been doing vlogging, Rob?
Well, initially I started my channel on YouTube back in 2008 as my portfolio to get into the video game industry. But I started doing videos of my rides out here in California. God, it must have been 2009. They were just crappy, like 640 by 480, the cheapo bullet cams that you could get back then. And I uploaded a few of those. And it wasn't until just a couple years ago that I actually started doing actual vlogs and talking about my bikes, doing how-tos and all of that kind of thing.
That's way cool. We may have lost Larry.
No.
Oh, I saw him move. You still there, Larry?
I'm here. And
Okay.
so what we're going to find out in all of that is while Rob was talking, neither Alan or I could see what was going on because the video feed was breaking up.
Oh,
So
okay.
in the biz, we call this technical difficulties. Things happen. Hopefully, what's going to happen, I left the camera on Rob the whole time this thing was going on.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
so that if you were talking and you were broadcasting right, it'll stream, and when we come back and watch this thing backwards, we will have missed what you said. I'm going to assume you've been doing it for a while, and you likey, you're going to
Yeah.
keep doing.
Yeah. Long story short, about 5 years, I'd say.
5 years, man. That's
But not seriously. Like I didn't get serious until I think last year around this time was when I started having like a regular buy to try weekly series that I started working on. Before that, it was sporadic. Like I would post up something here and there when I was inspired, but nothing serious.
Well, when I first found you, a year ago, I bought my Ducati Diavel, and instantly I'm starting to go out and find out the cool things that I want to do to it. And I do search, and I find your videos all over the place showing
Mm-hmm.
how to do cool stuff. So that
Yeah.
was my introduction to you originally.
Yeah, I want to do a lot more how-tos, and I plan to do a lot more how-tos this year, like brake jobs and um, radiator flush, all the nitty-gritty things that people should ideally know how to do on their bike, but they might be a little overwhelmed to get into it because you look at like a $20,000 motorcycle and you're like, I don't want to break this. So yeah, I'm gonna make a more conscious effort to put those out. And oddly enough, the vlogs, they'll get like maybe 10 to 20% of my subscribers will watch them regularly, but the how-to things, man, I'll get like tens of thousands of views on those over time, and they're frequently my most active thing. Like I think reshaping the Diavel seat is my second highest viewed video. It's up in like 30,000 or 40,000 range, and then silly. I've got a crash video where I was chasing a group of sport bikes up Palomar Mountain, and somebody didn't even catch it on camera. It was like somebody had crashed up the road, and I wrote in the headline or the title of the video that a crash, it's a sport bike chasing crash, and of course then I got like 50,000 views on that video. It's like obviously people are searching for crash videos, not education. So
Looking photos.
yep.
Yep, that's for sure. So if we're watching the screen now, I got your photo online that was taken by somebody off the side of the road who took a fabulous photo.
Oh yeah, that was up in Malibu on Mulholland, the infamous snake that everybody crashes on, and that was actually Rock Store Photos that took it.
So, Rob, how far away are you from Mulholland? Because you do a lot of your videos out there.
It's about probably an hour ride to get all the way up there. I'm way south in Orange County, and yeah, it's probably about an hour to get up there. And if traffic is heavy, which it frequently is, it will take 2 hours to get back. Because I go up way early in the morning to avoid traffic and hit the roads when they're empty, so I can just rail them. And then on the way back, it'll be like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Everybody's out on the road, and the 405 will just be rock solid with cars, and I'll get my lane splitting footage on the way home. So it's annoying having to split through that many cars, but when you do it for 30 miles at probably 3 or 4 times the speed that the cars are going, it's kind of entertaining. So.
That has to be a little hairy at times, I
Oh,
would think.
yeah, you pucker here and there, but the nice thing about the Diavel is the strange thing is with the way the radiators wrap around the engine and the front cylinder header points straight out the front of the bike, it's actually louder on approach than once it passes you. So it's almost like this just demon coming down the road screaming at everything ahead of it. And people tend to part like the Red Sea as I'm coming down and splitting. Like you'll see it in some of the lane split videos I've got up. And of course, having an uncorked exhaust helps. But I've got a flyby video of the Competition Works pipe on the bike, and you can definitely tell that on approach the bike is much louder, and then as it flies by, it gets real quiet. It's really weird. Most bikes are
Yeah,
louder as they're going away from you.
and I love that that sound. That was one of the first things I did. As a matter of fact, I think my bike I had it for like a week, and I put that exhaust on and just
Mm-hmm. Just bass, nothing but bass.
yeah. And I like that it has that raw look. I mean, there's the guys that have the Termignani, and it's Ducati, so they say that's what you have to do. But
I
I,
actually wish I had Shiv's Turbignoni pipe. I think that really looks nice.
that does look, man. I saw that pipe. That looks good.
Yeah, one of these days I'll get that or a Remus. But for now, the Competition Works pipe works just fine.
Yeah, I'm definitely, and I like the look because it shows the look of the exhaust with the kind of hard weld in, kind of open exposed look. I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd like to one day strip the header and get it ceramic coated gray, just to have everything be nice and clean and matched up. I don't really like the look of the blacked out pipes. It just seems like too much black on black. But if I was going for more of the ratty, just blackout look, then that's what I would do.
That's cool. Well, I am getting ready to fire up our first video of the eve,
Cool.
and we'll get this thing ready to go here. Do a little screen sharing, and this one has to do with riding on the highway in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, the preface to these videos is it's not like we're just gonna go out here and happened. I said, hey, there's things that have happened to you over the years, and I want to see some of that stuff that's happened. And this first one, I think I would have left a little stain somewhere.
Yeah, it was pretty spooky.
So here it is. Watch when he crosses the lane here, and you'll see something big. Right there.
Yeah, that was me cursing.
Well, that was pretty good. You saved me the having to, put a little beeper on you, and
Oh, that video had lots and lots of cursing, so I figured I ought to buzzer. Yeah.
it did. You got some footage out of that. So we kind of know what that is. You hit a truck tire. That thing looked like you ran over a huge animal.
It was probably at least 8 to 12 inches tall and solid. And as you're watching the video, you see a car parked on the left side, the left berm. That car had hit it, and it ripped off the front bumper parts of it. So that's why the car was kind of disabled and pulled over. I ended up passing that guy. My entire bike shut off because my kickstand switch got broken. the remote reservoir for the rear shock got ripped off the bottom of the bike. The bike jumped in the air probably 6 inches, the entire thing. So luckily I saw it a split second, stood up, jumped over the thing, bike power cuts out. I sit back down, I'm like, oh, I gotta, okay, going left, because I'm on a freeway that's like 5 lanes, and there's semis that are going down the road at like 70, 80 miles an hour, and it's pitch black out, no lights, no moon. It's a new moon night, so it's super just pitch black out. And there's cars buzzing by, and I'm like, okay, I just got to get off the road. Yeah, there's gravel there, but where else am I going to go? I'm not getting hit crossing 5 lanes of traffic with my lights out. So, luckily, I've been riding long enough that
So
I've been in gravel
the total
enough that,
damage on that.
oh. um, the shock alone, I had to get a whole new shock because it just destroyed that remote reservoir. And they don't sell individual parts for the Ducati shock. So it was, I think, $1,800 just for the shock. In order to replace the shock, you have to take off the entire swing arm, pop the chain, and basically disassemble the entire rear end of the bike. So luckily, I got a good deal on an Olin shock from, Kyle Racing. And was actually able to save some money after the whole ordeal. But after labor and the kickstand switch and a few other things, bracket, it was over $3,000. And but the funny thing was I had a low premium, luckily, and I actually came out ahead with like $300 in my pocket. So it's just like, oh, go figure. If I had $1,000 premium, I would have been in the hole a bit. But
Wow.
got lucky.
So a bad thing actually turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I usually think about once I realize I've lived through it.
Uh-oh.
Yep, is he gone this time?
Maybe.
Yeah. He's froze on my screen.
Yep.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, well, this is how this experience is going tonight. I mean, we would have been miles ahead to have not done it live and gone back in and done an hour long. And Rob, that if we watch this video back,
Mm-hmm.
and the stream we'll probably do is we'll just do it, the three of us, when we get our good connection, we'll do the thing right, and then we'll just redo it. We wouldn't be able to do questions, which is a big deal for what we're shooting for here, but at least that would get us through.
Yep.
So this may turn out to be a Lives Done Right test video again. We'll see. We could watch the thing back, and it might actually play pretty funny because we're talking over each other. We don't know who's what and where.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm ready to turn on this next video, and this is going to be a series of a couple of videos. We're going to show the first part of it, and then we're going to go through and show the second part. And this is where you're up on, I think it's Mulholland again. And one of the canned things I always do when I go on a ride is I tell people, this is going to be one of those mellow rides. So let's keep it down, no big risk stuff. So and right before you get going here, you say, yeah, I'm going to wait until I find a nice long straight here, and I think I'll finally do something, and I can relate to it. And here is that video.
All right, I guess I'm gonna have to save it for the straights. Straight.
And that is how you save it for the straight.
Oh, yeah. It's funny that I do that. I don't even mean to do it most of the time. I'm concentrating right here.
One of the
I'm probably not doing something right, but
one of the other. Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, it's just so easy to do on these bikes. Just to clicker down a couple couple, three gears and
Hmm.
crack the throttle. And I mean, you're around in just a blink of an eye. So it's not like, you don't need that much space.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Diavel, you don't even need the gears. You just twist the throttle and you're through the hole.
Yeah, I dropped a tooth on the front sprocket, so I mean I could be in sixth gear at 3,500 RPM and just roll on. It's got power from 45 miles per hour up to 159, I think, is where it starts slapping the rev limiter. So,
Now, so we caught your whistle on that, and I always laugh at the little things that you put in your videos while you're doing them. And one of the things that I noticed that you do is you do this little Frank Sinatra thing when you go doobie doobie
oh
doobie
yeah,
doobie doobie.
the penguin.
I love that when you do that. It's like I hop right on that tune and do the same thing.
Yeah, but I tend to do that when I find something comical and I'm just kind of breaking the silence for myself. Because I mean, you're riding along, you're not really talking to anybody else. You're just talking to this camera, and it gets kind of monotonous after a while, and you just start entertaining yourself.
Yeah, that is the one thing you do as a vlogger is that you're out there with yourself. You're making a video. You know, want to hear what you have to say, and something I have noticed that you and I have in common. We could fill an hour show by ourselves with no problems.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No.
Is he gone again?
Maybe
There
just
we
jump.
go. I think we made it back. Okay, so I'm going to fire. So basically, part one was we saw that you're now in the front. You've got pole position out in the lead. And so, what are you going to do with it? Well, I will say you know what to do when you get out in front.
Yep.
There it is. Hit it! Hit it!
That a little too hot. You just gotta get your groove. Whoa! And that's why you got traction control.
Yeah, traction control indeed.
So, what was it? I was trying to figure out. Did you hit a bump? Did you hit sand? What happened?
Malibu is notoriously bad for sand and mudslides and all kinds of stuff that you might not necessarily see if you're just putting down the road. But you get this nice thin dusting of sand on the surface, and if you're getting on it and you hit that at just the right spot, it's suddenly your tire just slips out. So that's what that was. Like normally, I've taken that corner at that speed or faster and had never had the tire step out like that. But that one, it just like all of a sudden just slipped out by probably at least 6 inches to the right. And luckily, I chopped the throttle right away, and the traction control immediately kicked on. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I was in touring mode. So
Yeah, that's another thing for those of us that ride. It is, when you say touring mode, it's a different beast in touring mode than it is in full out. Get it on. I mean, the torque thing. If you'd have been in full out with that,
There probably would have been sparks flying.
well, the funny thing about my Diavel is from the first few months that I took ownership of it, I played around with the ride modes and very quickly realized that I wanted to be in max power in sport mode and in touring mode. And then urban mode, I have it totally sedate in case I hit inclement weather and it gets rainy or greasy or gravel or whatever. So actually, in sport mode and in touring mode, it's 162 high, so it's got full power. The difference is my sport mode has no traction control, and then touring mode is like traction 3. So it's like medium engagement, but not so intrusive unless the tire really breaks loose. So
yeah, I tend to
if I'd
ride.
been in sport, I don't know that I could have saved it. It was very sudden.
Yeah,
Might have high-sided.
the other thing I noticed too, and this is why I showed the first part of that, was only guys that ride regular would get that first save you had. You hit it in between the corners, which set you up straight, and you kind of weren't on the right line. It didn't.
Hmm.
It set you out a different spot, and you were headed right for the old guardrail. Only guys that ride really get where you were going and how fast you had to be, letting off the throttle,
Oh
and
yeah.
leaning for that move. I mean, you were
Yep.
meat on that first one.
Yeah. If I was a newbie, I would have been going over the guardrail and off a cliff. So yeah, one of the things I regularly practice is target fixation drills, where I'll look completely over my shoulder at where I want to go and not focus on any bits of the road. Like if I see a crack or imperfection or just junk, I'll still look through the corner, use my peripheral vision to see that, and then move accordingly. Because where you look is where you go. Even the professional like MotoGP riders say, look at the apex and you will hit the apex every time. Whereas if you're not looking at the apex and you're looking at that guardrail, guess what you're going to go and hit? Yeah, you're going off the cliff like that speed street triple video of a guy on the same road that just plows right into the guardrail and he goes whoop up over the guardrail. Not good time.
That's gotta hurt.
Oh, he called back out, so that was good. He didn't break anything.
Wow.
Oh, no kidding?
That
Yeah. That's the funny
it
thing about that
reminds
road.
me when that.
Yeah, people crash on Mulholland, but they don't generally die. Like they'll get some road rash, but they can generally walk away from it. The bike, on the other hand, it's anybody's guess. I've seen him flip and tumble or just do a little slide. So
Yeah, that could be about as bad as that pain of you seeing your bike go flying off a cliff.
yeah,
Bring up a good thing about the fixation on what you're looking at. The rock, you get a big rock in a road, and if you don't practice those drills of relocating your eyesight to look away, you will look right at that rock, and you'll ride right over the top of that rock every time.
yep.
Yeah.
Been there, done it.
Well, and I do a lot of dirt biking and stuff, and you're going down, say logging roads or whatever at a good rate of speed, and you're looking ahead, and then a rock or a piece of wood or something will catch you, and you'll end up popping off the seat, going, "What the heck was that I just hit?" Because you were focused way up the road because you were clipping along pretty good, but it's still, by doing that, you stay balanced and you come out of it okay, usually.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's funny when we were talking about the pick list here. This was down on your pick list, but this next video that we're going to show is in 3 segments, and it was high on my pick list. I mean, I saw it, and I just thought, yeah, we're putting this one first time out. So, first thing that I noticed about it that I thought was pretty cool was, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is your dad's bike, right?
Oh yeah. He bought that back a year or two after I got my speed triple.
So the first thing I noticed is how cool is it that your dad goes out and has this big beast of a bike. That's number one. You got a cool dad that's got that. Number two, how cool is it that he gives you the keys and says, "Go out, son, and have some fun."
Oh, I grew up on bikes like this. The first bike that I learned on was a 1975 Honda CB4, and he had me go out and practice in the grass. And then once I was confident enough to go out on the street, like he handed me the keys to the Harleys and was like, "Here you go." And then over the years, he's had a Honda Valkyrie. He's had other Harleys, the Rocket, just tons of different bikes. The SV1000 that I taught my wife on. And yeah, I grew up with big power, so I've got a pretty good throttle hand. But
It'd be interesting to find out how that, and we'll talk about that after the video, I think. I want to know how that Valkyrie stacked up against the Rocket, because those are 2 big beast engine boys that are going to have mass torque. And the Valkyrie, we always, anybody who's ridden has seen those, knows the torque. But then the Rocket comes in and you say, yeah, that's a new animal. But I'm going to go ahead and fire up the video here, and we'll see what happens on the first run of it. So
The sound cut out for a bit of that.
then hopefully it'll come across when it plays back. So in round one, uh, it shows you getting it pretty good there. I mean,
Yeah, it was
that
probably a
bike
ton up.
it goes.
Yeah, it was just a quick ton up.
So that looked. I did watch the video, and there was a lot of that on that ride.
Oh, and that's clutchless too. That's not even touching the clutch lever. Just bumping the shifter.
That's the only way I shift going up is that way. I don't use my clutch at all.
Yeah, it's
Of
super
course, I
fast.
use it down, but yeah, I mean most bikes are good that way. There are some bikes that don't like that very well. And some bikes are real tight on the transmission. I've ridden that just they don't do that well.
Especially first to second.
Is that a shaft drive bike?
Yes it is.
So shaft drive, man, those things do a lot of snapping. Anybody's ever ridden the shaft drive knows that you let off the throttle, it likes to kind of do funny things with you.
The Rocket's actually not too bad. He's got aftermarket shocks on the back. God, I can't remember the brand, but the shaft on that one's actually pretty soft compared to most.
So the next video that we're going to do here, it picks up where you ended up on the end of that straight, and you were talking about how to do those clutchless shift ups, and now you're going to demonstrate the professional way to really go about.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
And you were still giving it the gas.
Yep. Yeah.
So for those that don't see the video playing straight through, you have to go out and watch the video first. But what you're going to find out is Rob had obviously no idea who that was at the time. Because throttle was on, he was still talking, going, yep, and that's how we do it here in the big boy school.
No, I was just being humble, but out there, there's a lot of park rangers that have unmarked, well, practically unmarked, except for the tiny little circle that says park ranger, and they're all white Jeeps, and they have this super low profile, clear LED array on the top. So it's like, if you pass them, you wouldn't even notice unless you were looking for it. So, yeah, I was hard on the gas, and he caught me. That was.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool clip, and
Yeah, it's almost inevitable on these bikes because you just can't hold them back most of the time.
Mm. No, on the Diavel, like you nudge the gas, you move the throttle like a millimeter, and you're going 10 miles per hour faster. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, and they're so smooth that it's hard to judge how fast you're going until you look down at the speedo because it doesn't seem like you're going that fast.
Yeah. Yeah, but the nice thing about the twins is they do have a bit of vibes to them. So unlike Japanese sport bikes, you at least know when you're doing 100 miles per hour. I've ridden some Jap bikes that are like you're doing 120 and it feels like you're doing 60 because they're so smooth and quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've always stuck with twins and triples because they've just got that right amount of exhaust note, engine vibes, engine noise, and you could feel the bike is going fast.
Yeah, that's my last street bike was a R1, and yeah, you couldn't tell how fast you were going. You'd be doing 100-ish, and it felt like you were doing 60. You just couldn't tell. Larry, are you back?
I'm back. I just, I should have gone to the bathroom or something and actually made it worth my time. I mean, I was out there for a while. It's weird because you guys have already seen this tonight. It dropped and it just came back by itself.
Yep.
That was weird. So we're going to try presenting this video again here. Let's see if we can get the third round of this to fire off and see what happened.
Have more aluminum parts, be lighter weight, easier to throw around, and it's just intended to be more of a performance bike.
There's the mirror there that you were pointing at. Yikes.
So we will see. Looks like I got a cop pulling me over. Oops. Oh.
Oops.
Yep. Yeah, no siren, nothing. Just rolled up behind me. Didn't even turn the lights on. Made me sweat for a little bit. And I'm like, crap.
I don't know that there's anybody out there that rides motorcycles that doesn't know that feeling or drives cars or whatever. If you have fast stuff, you experience the cop come up behind you and that happens, and the whole pucker and that funny feeling you get. I was, it makes it a lot easier to poke fun at that experience and what you did there when you consider how it turned out. Because I thought you got off pretty good. You gotta tell them what happened out of all that.
Oh, well, it was a little awkward because I've got a concealed carry permit in Ohio. So the park ranger walks up and like asked me for all my information and stuff, and he'd already run, or no, he'd run the plate, so he didn't know at the time that I had a concealed carry. So he goes back to his car. Then the second time he comes up, um, he asks me if I'm carrying, and of course I've got my hat tucked under my right armpit in my shirt, so it looks like I've got a holster in there. And I'm like, oh, no, no, and I'm like unbuttoning my shirt, take the hat out, put it on my head. And I'm like, oh, no, nope, not carrying, sorry, probably should have said something. I thought they changed the law, so you don't have to do that anymore. And he was totally cool about it, kind of chuckled a bit, and yeah, surprisingly, he only clocked me at probably, I think, 80, and gave me a ticket for like 70 with no points, because there's a special thing that if you're going through a park area and you get ticketed by a park ranger, they can just give you a cash-only ticket that, as long as you take care of it right away, you can just pay cash and not have any points or anything on your license. Doesn't even show up. So I was like, okay, yep, went straight into the municipal court and was like, here you go, cash, see you later.
I had never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Until your video. I didn't know there was such a critter. And did he have the option of doing that?
He had the option to give me like a reckless op if he really, really wanted to be a jerk, but he could have given me points and a speeding ticket. There's a bunch of different things he could have done, but the cops out that way are pretty cool as long as you're respectful and friendly and show them that you're not a psycho.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and really anybody watching, any of us that are riding, especially have been riding a while, you know, you know that when
Freeze frame.
Looks like he's still there, maybe.
Yeah.
and we're back.
Okay, you're back.
So yeah, I mean, you did, you know, if you did all those things, and I'm sure you did, you came out of it as good as you could come out. I mean, I couldn't
Yep.
believe that that's what happened.
It also helped that I have a clean driving record, miraculously enough. Having lived out in California and the cops out there being kind of awkwardly white privilege prone, I people hardly ever get pulled over for speeding in California. Well, out where I'm at, so it also helps that everybody on the freeway does 80 to 90 miles per hour. So the cops tend to be like they prioritize everybody getting to their destination safely over, hey, I'm going to chase random speeders for tax money. You don't really have to worry about the tax money because in Orange County there's people living in multi-million-dollar homes all over the place, and so yeah, my record's been clean, and I know in my 20s I was kind of a wild child doing wheelies and stoppies and all kinds of madness on my speed triple, and racked up points in my car so that I actually ended up getting my license revoked for 6 months. And since then,
Oh,
I have made
how
a
old?
point. 21. Yeah, right at that college age, just totally nuts, having just not worrying about the speed limits or anything, and not knowing the law in my ignorance. I should have hired lawyers back then and should have done everything to avoid that, but now I know better, and I should probably do a lot more vlogs about that kind of stuff because it would save a lot of people a lot of money. But since then, I've learned all of the little hiding spots, nooks and crannies, places to look to avoid getting pulled over, and I've had a clean record since. So that's helped out quite a bit. But it did help when I got pulled over in that situation to have a totally clean record and be mellow, and the cop happened to let me off. So
Well, I'm blessed to be in that same situation. I have a clean record as well, and I agree. I think when they look you up and they see that 99% of the time I'm driving my other cars, I'm driving normal and doing what it is I'm supposed to, and even on the bike, you know,
yeah,
I have pretty much an 8 over rule is what I usually ride at, and then I just hit it, you know, on occasions. Alan, are you still with us?
Yep, yep.
So, how many tickets you got, Alan, on
None.
your record right now? Clean record?
Um, yeah, I think it's clean. Yeah, it should be clean. I had one a while back during when they were working on the highway out here, and they had 45-mile-an-hour speed, and I was coming down the hill, and I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't trying to speed. It was just one of those things, and he got me when I wasn't looking. So
Oh man, that's not fair. I think I know the exact spot you're talking about.
yeah, coming down the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he always sits down there right at the bottom, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not paying attention. So
So we're three guys with no tickets on our records. We need to get the old bikes out and do a little rendezvous and see how far we can push the old envelope, right?
yep,
absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. Well, this show has been really different. I mean, Alan, we've never had anything like this as far as technical difficulties, and I'm not going to say that it's because we had three on because
speaking of which,
yeah.
uh,
So I see two Ducatis sitting behind you. So you've got the
yep,
Diavel, and what's the other one there, Rob?
touch
it's
this thing back.
2007 1098 base.
Nice.
You guys
Yeah,
have a nice little conversation while I was out there taking a smoke break.
just
we were
asking
working
what
on it.
the Ducatis were. Yeah, the 2007 1098 was my first Ducati back in 2007. Got it new. Um, yeah, my wife actually surprised me with it as our anniversary present. So that was nice. And then,
Wow, that sounds like a
uh,
gift for the wife there, huh?
yeah, and then the Diavel
No
was our
kidding.
5-year. So yeah, interesting stories for both of those too.
Nice. So what did you get her?
She was going to law school at the time and wrecked her last bike. So she was like, I'm not going to ride for a while. I'm going to wait until I graduate, get a law job, and now she's finally starting to get, now that we've got the baby out, and he's 15 months at this point, she's starting to think, oh, yeah, it might be nice to get back into riding, but right now we're really, really working toward getting a house. So it's like, get the house first, and then we'll start looking at bikes and reworking the fleet.
Yeah, it's funny. You're at a stage in life where, I'm 20 years older than you, and what I remember was around that stage is when I took a break because the kids were little, and I just, redid my finances to get some other kind of priorities going, and then
Yep.
you go through a point where, they get older in grade school. I think is when both of them were older in grade school. I went out and got a bike again and started riding,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
I
fun
plan.
because you can ride with your kids.
Yep. Yeah. No. As soon as he is able to handle a balance bike, we're going to get him a Strider balance bike,
Yeah.
and then gradually work him up to a little mini, probably 50 or 25 cc dirt bike, and then just bump him up and up and up, get him into AMA, and see if he's interested in racing. I'm pretty sure he is because he's a freaking wild child and was climbing before he was crawling. So, and now he's sprinting at 15 months. It's nuts.
Are
Yeah.
you gonna point him toward the dirt or the pavement as far as racing?
Dirt first. Yeah. I didn't get as much of a chance to do dirt as a kid. We had four-wheelers, but after my brother and grew up with some foster brothers. My parents were running a foster home. Had a bunch of different people wreck on the four-wheelers. One person actually ran into a barbed wire fence, and yeah, that wasn't fun. But I rolled one. My brother and I were on one at the same time going up a hill, and we flipped because there was just too much weight high up, and it just teetered back. So I think my mom kind of freaked out, and we got rid of the four-wheelers for a while, and then gradually my dad got me back into it, probably with or without her permission, but
That's how it was at our house too. We started
yep.
out with the ATVs and went through the same kind of deal, and wanted to take. Mom did, but we got to stay in, fortunately.
Cool.
My grandson still doesn't know how to ride a bike, but that didn't stop me at, like, I forget how old he was. He was like 5 years old, and I went out and bought him one of those Yamaha electric start. I think it was a little 50, and it had training wheels on it. And I thought, well, he's going to learn on something anyway. So, and I got 3 acres, so we went down in the field, and that's pretty much all he knew.
Yeah, I was on a little mini Indian 50cc at 4 years old. Not sure if I think I had training wheels back then, but then around 5, I was already off the training wheels and running around the yard. So
yeah, that's
good to get them started young.
That's cool. It's funny how when you have training wheels on, he would just ride and lean.
Oh yeah, fighting them.
So because he was doing that, I thought, well, if you're going to just ride around on training wheels and you're going to be on 3 the whole time, I might as well just get you a quad. So I sold his bike and I went out and got him a quad, and that's what he's got now. He's got a little Raptor, a little 80 Raptor.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
and so what Grandma and Grandpa do is it's like, well, 80 Raptor, that thing's pretty fun. So I went out and at one point I grabbed 3 of them, and we went down the field. And so he would be on one, I would be on one, my wife would be on one, and we set up a track out there, and we would just do laps
awesome.
racing each other. It was a blast.
Yeah.
I still don't know why I sold the other 2, just because they were taking up room, and we hadn't done it again. But that would have been fun to invite the friends over too, and all your buddies hop on the quads, and those little ones are a blast to ride.
Yep.
Yeah, growing up, my first dirt bike was a CT70, but prior to that, my brother had Honda 100, and then he upgraded to the 125, the XL 125, and he used to ride that to work. And he was 7 years older than I was. But what he would do is I couldn't touch the ground on it, but I'd get on it. He'd hop on the back. I'd take off, get it going, riding around the yard. He'd hop off the back, and I'd ride around the yard till I was done riding. Then I'd beep the horn, and he'd come out, hop on the back, and stop me so I didn't fall over because I couldn't touch the ground.
Nice.
I can't remember a time where there wasn't some kind of motorcycle in my life. You know, either my brother's or somebody's.
Yeah, my great grandfather actually rode one of the earliest Harleys, so it's been in our family for a while.
Wow, that's pretty
Nice.
cool. Yeah, you've got that's gonna be another show. But at that, hey, one thing I want to make sure anybody who's watching, especially if we keep this and we don't redo it, if it turns out to be entertaining and we keep this video around, you'll hear this. What I'm gonna say, you gotta see.
Oh!
It always cuts out at the time that it doesn't need to cut out.
Do a laugh track. I mean,
I was just getting ready to say something really cool too, and then I just saw I was talking to myself, which I'm used to. I do a lot. No, what I was gonna say is, vi- uh, visitors have got to go subscribe to your channel and watch your videos because there's a lot about. You're a deep dude. I mean, bikes and what you've got in your family history and stuff. There, you have a lot of stuff that's worth listening to,
mhm.
and the more I'm watching, the more I'm enjoying.
Cool. It's good to hear. Yeah, it's nice to see new subscribers send me a message and be like, "Oh, hey, I just subscribed to you, and I'm doing a binge of all of your videos." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." Makes me feel really humble.
Yeah, so I probably disappeared again there. All I was saying was subscribe to Rob. He's got cool stuff.
Yep. Yeah, always doing something different, new, and interesting. I've got three core pillars that I try to follow: um, exploration, education, and then entertainment as the last pillar. So exploration is just like me playing around with music software and video editing. That's kind of what got me into doing this in a more serious terms last year. Was just so I can really hammer away at skills that I hadn't had a lot of opportunity to do. I did composition and stuff back in high school and early in college, but ended up going into art and philosophy and branching off away from music for a while. So this kind of brings me back into some of my passion pursuits that I haven't had an opportunity to play with. And then education, of course, with doing how-tos and various rants about political stuff. And I like to do lots of research on topics before I vlog about it, too. Because there's a lot of big vloggers out there that will comment on things that they clearly have not. I mean, they maybe read a news release, and then they've got a huge opinion that they're going to share with everybody, and it's like, um,
It's
maybe
one of
we
the
should.
things I've noticed about watching your videos is that you're not full of crap. I mean, you
Yeah,
watch them. People are going to have their opinions, but I mean, I can't believe how much stuff we're actually I track with you on and say, yeah, I'm with you on that topic.
yep. Or even if a person isn't at the beginning of the video, they'll at least clearly understand where I'm coming from by the end of the vlog
Yeah.
and see why I came to that conclusion. Like that's one of the skills that I built up in college when I studied philosophy, because when you're taking philosophy in college, one of the core rules is if you're going to make an argument, have it be defensible from every imaginable attack that an opponent arguing with you could possibly come up with. So I really had to dive in and explore as many different ways of thinking about things, especially when it comes to politics, so that when I do get into debates with people, I can see where they're coming from. They can hopefully see where I'm coming from, and then find some kind of common ground and figure out what is actually the best, the Greek good, as it were.
You know, one of the things we didn't even talk about in here is that you're one of the moderators on the largest Ducati Diavel forum out there, and I want to expand on that in future stuff. So when we have you back at some point and we've got better connection and everything is going good, it'll be fun to talk about that as well. But
For sure.
so 856, I gotta say this uh, has been a mixture. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. Fun, happy, unbelievably sad and frustrated with this whole cutting out thing. Man, and you're sitting. I'm watching the clock, and I'm going, "Is it 9 o'clock yet?" And it has nothing to do with you. It's all this whole connection stuff. So
Yeah.
what I do promise that we'll do is we will look at the video afterwards. I think we'll, we may keep, like I said, we may keep it up there because I think it might be funny to watch.
Hmm.
Uh, but this was ramped up to be a really cool show, and we have a lot to talk about. And we got interrupted a lot with the whole connection stuff, so we may wind up redoing this thing. So anybody who's watched the show, please come back and take a look and see if we've redone this right and how it turns out. And watch the other one just for fun and giggles, because that's what we're going to do when this is over.
Yep.
But Rob, thanks so much for showing up, man. It was great having you, and I'm hoping that even with the crappy connection stuff, that you liked it enough to where you come back.
No, it was fun. Yeah, I would definitely do it again.
That's great. Alan, you coming back?
Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back.
Yeah, you're the guy who barely made it this week, man. You got sick a couple of days ago. I didn't even think you were going to make it.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here trying not to cough.
I'm just getting over my own head cold.
Oh man, so you sickos, man. I'm glad you guys are there. I'm glad I can't catch it via this.
Yep.
Although as crappy as the connection has been tonight, the one thing that would be successful is me to get your bugs.
Mm.
So the one successful thing they figure out how to do, transmit a virus over the internet when Google Hangouts is crapping out on you.
Oh,
So
don't
yeah,
tell me.
I do want to thank Google Hangouts for all of our interesting problems that we had tonight. Hopefully somehow it gets. I'm not going to blame. I can't blame Google Hangouts. We both know. Everybody in here knows technology well enough to know stuff happens, and tonight stuff happened.
It is Friday night, so it's one of the peak times. So
Yeah, I had thought about that too. Everybody and their dog is probably trying to get on, and I actually got my house to escape. Everybody fled the house. I said, tonight, I want to have fun. I don't want to worry about stuff. I'm going to have a nice, clean connection. I got a feeling my connection is what caused most can think that is a possibility. So we'll see how that goes. I'm running on the fastest I can get.
yep.
It's that Friday night hanging out deal. But thanks everybody for watching. We are in the crux of trying to figure out what it is we're going to do for next week's show. I've kind of got it sitting up in the air, and don't be surprised if we can talk Rob into it, to having him back right off the bat and doing a part 2 that actually turns out hopefully better than part 1. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know how that all turns out. Watch for us, subscribe, have fun, stay safe. Alan, you got something to say.
Write it like you stole it.
There you go. Thanks, guys, for hanging in. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you.